my book series is about discerning disclosure of extraterrestrials, aliens, and its effect on our culture and our religions and our politics, as well as exopolitics, which is the policies that our governments make in handling and dealing with the alien phenomenon. It starts off with my first book, and I used this chart, which I used to use, blown up, really like as big as these, in classes I used to do back in the 1990s called ET's Aliens or Angels. And this is what I was inspired to write and organize, that this is the spiritual battle, the clash between two kingdoms, which is right here in book one, page 90 to 91. And then the whole book kind of explains this chart. Pretty much goes over the fact that we're, in a cosmic war. The real Star Wars, which, the truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, my fifth book goes into that in more detail about how that's relevant to what's happening now on the planet, and with our government and the secret space program and Solar Warden and the new Space Force, which are now called the Guardians, which they got after Guardians of the Galaxy, and so this is very real, and this is part of the battle of the ancient war, which still exists today. And Ephesians 6:12 talks about we war not against flesh and blood, but powers, principalities, rulers of the darkness of this present world, and that's these guys over here. Okay, which I call the Reptilian Empire, the Draconian, Draco, aka Satan's hierarchy. And the word Satan, I know, has a religious connotation to it because of Christianity, and Satan is the devil, but Satan is just a Hebrew word for the adversary. It means the rebel. So in my book, I actually make it plural, and I don't capitalize it for a reason, okay, because they are the Satans with an S at the end. They're the rebels, they're the adversaries of the Creator, and that's what is evidenced in the Old Testament, as well as the exo-biblical books of Enoch that were rejected from the Bible canon by the Church of Rome because it was too much truth for them to handle, and they wanted to control the populace. They didn't want people to know about this. Okay, so and in the book of Enoch, he actually names them, and it says in Genesis 6 as well as Enoch that those 1/3 of heaven's angels rebelled against the Creator because they wanted to do things their way, and we are caught up in that battle, and that's evidenced here by who these aliens are and which star systems they've inhabited, which are also corroborated in the ancient Jewish texts that were rejected. There's 75 Jewish texts, and the Kabbalah, and it talks about the cosmology and how there's dark and death stars and cursed areas of the heavens. And this is also evidenced by the star systems that they came from and that they inhabit. But the good news is that when the Lord returns, when the Messiah returns, he restores all things. And he's going to lift the curse off of all creation. And that includes the reptilians who were possessed by the rebels, by Satan's, which I call here Satan's, aka Satan's hierarchy. And it is a hierarchy, which is evidenced in in this book, because there's different levels of them, there's different types, they have different jobs, different roles, and so people seem to associate reptilians with evil, and that's because they've been possessed by the fallen ones. But the prophecy says that when the Lord returns, he restores all of creation. He delivers and saves all of creation, and that includes the reptiles. Okay, so they're not all evil in and of themselves. And I mean, if you've ever had a green iguana, they're which the book cover, that hand actually was my pet iguana named Saphira. That was inspired. And this has to do with the connection between us and them on Earth, which is also evidenced in so many different historical stories about cultures and nations, and it's because they are living inside the planet, and they're trying to control what goes on the surface of the planet. So that's what that's about. Even though it is sort of a take on the Michelangelo creation, and it's certainly not saying that they have created us, but they have manipulated us, and that is in my conclusion, because there's a misnomer going around that they created us, and they couldn't have, because we were on the earth before they came. Also evidenced by scripture. So it's in the book. I was inspired to write my first book, which took me about 17 years to finish and publish, because I'm an experiencer. And I've had a lot of experiences that sort of were across a lot of different gamut, from negative to positive, and which left me a little perplexed and confused. And it was my journey to figure it out and seek the truth about it. And so I realized that we meaning us Earth humans, in a spiritual battle over our planet and over our souls. And that some of the experiences I had, which were not so pleasant and negative and a little scary, and also created a bondage for me, were part of that battle. And I was used, harvested my eggs. They abducted me for my eggs, and they implanted me with pregnancies while I wasn't in a relationship, and it was beyond, and I was pregnant, and then I had miscarriages that were just unexplainable, and which left me very depressed and confused. And so I would say that was a big deal, a great deal of my inspiration to write a book about discernment, because they say that we teach what we need to learn, and that's what I had to learn. And then I also had experiences with positive beings who came to help me and save me and strengthen me and teach me the difference between the two. I had a near-death experience in 2010, and I saw Christ, and he specifically told me, because I was writing my first book about the aliens, and it hadn't been published yet, and he said that he wanted me to rewrite it with him in it, and that he was going to guide me and teach me what was going on. And so that's evidenced in book one. I offer a lot of knowledge, facts, references, and if they want to understand what's going on, I think it's a good place to start, because I connect a lot of dots. So if people are looking for understanding and discernment, they should absolutely read. And I write my books so that people can look things up. They're like reference books, but people can read them cover to cover if they choose. Or I organize my table of contents in such a way that people can look it up like an index and just be drawn to a certain chapter or subchapter. And it really depends on where they're at. And I hope that there's, I believe that there's something in there for everyone. I make it, that's my goal, is so that everyone can get into it, regardless of where you've been and where you've come from and how you were raised. Well, this is a book series. It's 5 now. So the 6th book, which I believe will be the final, is called Heaven's Gospel, and it's my astrology book, and the ancient language of the stars. And it's something I actually started back in 1990, and then I shelved it to write about the aliens because that kind of took over. There's that scripture that says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Well, that's book 6.